Good day, everyone. It's nice to be here again. I hope everyone is having a good day. I am so myself. Today, we are going to talk about Germany rearming. Uh, Immediately after the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, the third day, the Chancellor of Germany, uh, Chancellor Olshoff, declared that Germany will be spending 2% of its GDP, that is meeting the NATO target, which is at roughly 100 billion, to modernize its um, aged army and underfunded military. Uh, why is Germany doing this? Germany is doing this because of Russian invasion of Ukraine. Germany sees that its security is threatened, and the fact that decades and decades of neglect in its military may result to it suffering the consequences if war was to expand into Germany and other European states. Um, I was reading an article of a former German general who was saying that just to show you how the German army state is, he was saying 30 years ago when he joined the army, um, the German army capacity was 90%. By the time he was leaving, it was 30% to 20%. That shows you that for every 100 planes or submarines or weapons that were functional 30 years ago, only 30 of them are functional. And the report further states that most of the equipments, were not working. The radio comms were not working, and we can't really blame Germany because of its neglect of the military. After all, when you go to the 20th century and look closely, especially the beginning and the near the half of the 20th century, you can see why Germany took such a position not to modernize its military, even though it's the largest economy in Europe. Immediately after the First World War, Germany was accused of being the perpetrator. And under the Treaty of Versailles, one of the worst treaties in terms of, it's called a treaty because it tried to force Germany into submission. And Germany was forced to pay money to the Allied forces. Its military was shrunk, its territory was taken, and also this is one of the reasons that led to the rise of Adolf Hitler, because he promised the people of Germany that will bring back the industrial might of Germany, the military, and bring pride to being a German, because at the time it was the Germans were really humiliated. So through the rise of Adolf Hitler, he formed one of the most formidable military, and we saw how it through his conquest and pillage of Europe, but he was stopped by the Soviet Union, which took most of the hit. People say America and Britain, but literally it's the Soviet Union that drove back Hitler. And after the Second World War, uh, there was an understanding that Germany could not go back to its military position. And clearly after the Second World War, there were two axes of power: the USSR and the USA. The USA, France, and Britain took the western side of Germany, and the USSR took the eastern side of Germany. The eastern side of Germany had its own military, but the western side, where it was controlled by France, America, and Britain, it only had a force that would contain the expansion of the USSR from East Germany to West, but the military force was not meant to fight foreign wars or fight wars away from Germany. So, you know, when the when the Berlin Wall fell, Germany became as a whole, but Germany still continued with the practice of non-military, and it adopted a policy of diplomacy and diplomatic engagement. And we all know this is because of you know the guilt and also the fear of how the world perceived it, because of, or how the world will perceive it if Germany started to rearm, because of what the Nazi government had done. And throughout Germany till recently, it's sort of diplomatic, and even people are asking, Germany is the most powerful economy in Europe, and why is it not having the most powerful military? But it really invested in soft power. Germany was against the NATO invasion of Kosovo. Germany was against the invasion of Iraq. Germany was against the overthrow of Gaddafi. So it shows you that Germany was more of a diplomatic country seeking diplomacy before anything. And that's why you see, uh, even during Merkel time, you could see that he really engaged with Putin a lot. And even Putin somehow, I feel like he respected Merkel, because Merkel was always engaging Putin, trying to reassure him, don't be this, don't be too fussy, don't be too unpredictable, be diplomatic, let's work together as Europe, and we can work together. But now Germany is starting to rearm its military. It's a game changer. Even though Germany is the fourth largest exporter of arms in the world, uh, Germany plans to spend 100 billion euros. It will be the third largest, most powerful army in the world, after in terms of spending, after the American, the Chinese, and now it will be the Germany. It will be the most powerful army in Europe in terms of spending, and this comes because of a few reasons. Uh, Germany wants to fulfill its NATO obligation of 2%. Every NATO country has to fund its military according to 2% of its GDP, and that's the treaty. Uh, you know, it also brings a quagmire, because why is Germany doing this now? Why is Germany funding its military yet? When you look at, even though most NATO countries have not reached the 2%, NATO and European countries have not reached the 2%. The NATO countries, together, their military budget is 24 times more than Russia. So funding, uh, even if Germany was not funding themselves, or investing in the military, the European Union will still have the strongest force in the world, because Russia will pose no threat. But you know, um, pundits and critics say that Germany investing in this, it's clearly a signal that it's moving away from soft power and now relying on hard power. And even though it wants to use soft power, it will be hard to use soft power when you're investing 100 billion euros almost annually on your military, because there will be an incentive to use force. And some even argue that Germany rearming, it means that now Europe is strictly under the sphere of American influence, and America will now put a foothold on Europe, making it its own backyard. And Germany rearming doesn't bring the tension low, because if Russia sees German rearming, Russia is also going to continue rearming, and it could make Europe, a nuclear, a nuclear playground, because now what's going to happen is that the American nuclear umbrella is going to come around Europe, and also Russia is there. You know, and another thing is that some see, and talks are that this money, invested in the German military, most of it will go to the American military complex. You can see that Germany is already ordering the F-35s, it's ordering choppers from the American government. So it will be like, the hopes of which Macron had of Europe having its own own army are diminished, and Europe having its own independent foreign policy when it comes to security is diminished, because it seems that through the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, it has played the wrong effect. Now Europe more than ever is under the umbrella of America. We saw Finland and Sweden joining NATO. Even before they joined, Britain and America signed a defense treaty with Finland and Sweden to protect them. So this, it's every day by day, it's been seen that Europe is moving under the American sphere and under the American power of influence. And what happens when you invest 100 billion euros every year into the German military establishment is that you realize that now Germany will be a very big player when it comes to military hardware, and even military exports. Germans are very good in engineering and heavy industries. So because even before the investment, they had some of the best technology when it's come to military. In fact, their battle tanks, the Leopard is rated one of the best battle tanks. And going forward, I feel like the security of Europe is going back into, the 20th century, the beginning and the mid, where every country was rearming. And right now, the threat might look like Russia, but it doesn't make the European sphere to be any safer. Uh, Pundits argue that with Germany rearming, it will also, there'll be some kind of competition because now France will increase its budget. We've seen that also Finland has increased its military budget. Sweden has done the same. You know, all these countries in the Baltics, they are seeing how they can rearm. So it's like some new arms race of, and the people who are going to to benefit most are the defense contracts, and the most of the defense contracts come from America. So it means that as we go to the future, Europe might heavily rely on American military machinery in terms of combat and even logistics and even intelligence. And it's has reached a point that where Germany sees that it cannot anymore rely on soft power. It must now start, being an active player in terms of military. There are talks even to increase the force from, I think, about roughly less than 200,000 to increase the force to to be more capable people, more active, you know, more trained. And there's even talks of to sign more collaboration deals with American and other you know, and other countries like Britain, America, so that the aim is to put the whole of European Union under one umbrella system, so that in case of war, coordination and easy use of equipment can be useful. Because what they've seen with the Ukraine war is that the fact that each country was given its own system, it took so much time for the Ukrainians to train and to learn. And in a time where combat is happening, it's very hard to train these people because to use certain systems. So it also becomes a disadvantage for the Ukrainians because they need training. But now what's happening is that there's a shift into where the American influence and is trying to push that the whole of Europe relies on one system of combat, so that it's easy to train and also very effective to counter issues that may arise. I'm eager to see how other countries will respond, especially countries like Russia, China, as Germany now becomes the thirdest most funded military. Uh, at first, the 100 billion is to repair and to bring up to date the German military systems, the machineries that have not been used. But continuing from there, Germany will now become a very big player in the military industry, and I'm waiting to see what role it will play in NATO. Some have expressed fear, like Donald Trump was saying that Germany rearming is not a good thing, but we must not forget there's a time he also said that Germany is not meeting its commitment of 2%, and 2% is the same amount of money that Germany is rearming with. So pundits are there; they are trying to poke holes on. People are a bit skeptical about Germany. We mustn't forget that because of the Nazi war and everything, it might ruffle feathers. But it's also important to understand that also the news have been welcomed by the NATO members, the European security establishment, and they applaud the fact that Germany is now being an active player. Germany must be remembered that when the war in Ukraine started, Germany was even reluctant to send arms and everything. Even today, Germany has been reluctant. Countries like Poland have put Germany into task. Why aren't you supporting Ukraine? This is our neighbor. The American government have also done that. Especially even the Baltic states, they have put Germany on task. It needs to do more, especially because lesser countries and that have less economic power, even doing more than Germany. And Germany is the most powerful economy. But I feel like the fact that Germany has said it's investing in its military, it's a way of trying to reassure its allies, don't worry, even if we are not committing as much as you, we really care about the security of Europe. And you can see, as our first sign of, as our first order of the day, we'll try and reaffirm and rearm and ensure that we have a safe Europe and you know peace and tranquility. And also, this might be seen as a way of Germany now taking over the leadership in terms of military in Europe. Because now, if it's the third largest spend in the world and the biggest spend of military hardware in Europe, it means that now Germany will not only control the economy of Europe, but also the military prospect and how the security of Europe will be forged in the future. Even though it will be under the American umbrella, but Germany will have a very big say into the future into the future European security. So, guys, this is something I'll keep checking out and you know see how it goes. Uh, Please subscribe, share, and like. And until we meet again, guys, thank you so much. Ciao. Cheers.